Alright, so with the first part, task 1A, plus minus 200 words, you'll remember that's just a guide. You're not losing marks or getting more marks if it's more or less than that. So you need all 4 points. So the topic is clearly stated. So a nice single line type of thing, this is what we're doing. A thorough description of what the problem or task involves, the purpose of the task. So purpose is the other word, or the definition of purpose is like the why. Why are you doing this task? So it needs to be something. Please do not say I'm doing this task because it's my IT pet or because my teacher said I must. So that's not the why. The why is I heard some of you, it looks like a chunk of you that's doing a state agent program. So your why would be somebody approached you. It doesn't need to be a legitimate company. It could be, you could just say, with estate agents, there's a lot of people that does like their own thing, own businesses. So you can say, my uncle is wanting to start a estate agency program. And he wants you to give him a program because what is preventing him from doing that is that he's worried about his admin that might be lacking, or he's worried about his paper-based papers will get lost, or that his handwriting is bad. So he would like you to create a program for him to help him with his administration and his handwriting, or something like that. So you say that there's this person that wants you to help them design a program for what's. Describe a possible solution for the problem. So in this part now, you'll say, so I can create a program, or my program that I will create will help my uncle to enter all the houses that he's got to sell. And he'll also have a list of maybe a table with the owner's information, or he'll have a table with all the buyers that wants to buy something from him. And my program will then allow him to display all the houses that's open for rent and all the houses that's there to be sold. And he will be able to add and remove houses, or just so sort of summarize that a bit, because you'll see we'll do that further on, but somewhere like that in a paragraph. So let's say about 10 sentences roundabout. You just say, what will your program do? And then a brief description of the scope. So this scope part, because this part basically already says what your program will do, and the scope of a program is saying what will it do and what will it not do. So in this area, rather focus on what it will not do. So maybe then say there that this program will not be online. This program will not be, depending which area, because you'll see later on you only need 2 tables. You can have more. Let's say you decided you're going to go with all the people that wants to buy houses and the houses. Then you can say my program will not have a database with the seller's information. And my database will not have past sales. If it's sold, then the house gets removed from the database. So I don't keep record of old stuff. Or so something that you would think might be needed in the program, but you just don't want to add it because you don't want to make your program too big. Then that will be in this scope part, where you'll just say, these are some of the things that my program will not be able to do. And then you do that. And that would be this first part. Put it all together, put it with this heading. And then you start with your next heading, user requirements. So put that heading there. State who the users are. So you need to have 2 different types of users. So you need to have something like a owner and another person, maybe either a buyer or a seller or a estate agent. And the owner can maybe add houses, but then, or the owner can do like anything. But then if it's a buyer, he can only look at the houses that's available and edit his own information. If it's like a seller, sort of same thing. And if it's a estate agent, the estate agent can maybe only add new clients, but he can't change the houses that's available or something. So you'll have 2 different users that's got 2 different limitations. So generally you'll have like the admin, the boss that can do anything, and then you'll have one other type of person that can only do some of the things. Obviously you can have more, but at least those two. And with this part here, role, activity, and limitations of the user. So with role, just one sentence. What does that person do? Role, he's the owner of the business, he should be able to edit everything, or he's just a sales agent, so he should just do whatever. Activity and limitation, I would go table format. Just make a table and then say, if we go here. So I would just go that because I want specifically a table. So you go table, you go with this route, and you say, yeah, this is the admin or the owner, and then this is maybe the sales agent, and then this one can add houses, remove houses, add house, remove house, add client, remove client, display houses, display clients, and then like the sales agent, he can then maybe, then you can just go copy paste. That's the nice thing about this. So you can say, okay, but for them you only want him to be able to do this. Sales agent can only do those ones. But then obviously you'll have more. So then you'll have, these are your type of people you've got, and then these are the functions they've got. And that would be perfect for that then. All right, then when you use the use case diagram, it will need more typing. So the use case diagram is something like, if this happens, and these are the things you'll be able to do. So maybe if a new client arrives, then the owner will be able to add a new client and add the house that he's selling, or stuff like that. So use case is more like, if this happens, these are the things you will be able to do, and if this happens, these are the things. So then it's more sort of in a story format where you say, I don't know how to phrase it, but yes, with if something happens, what will you do if that happens? And different options. This one is for me more vague. I love the table format just because you can go nice and clear, bullet form type thing. These are all the functions that they can do. And then it is very straightforward as to what each type of user can do and cannot do. Okay, that's that one. Then with the data dictionary, important here, all database design requirements are met. A well-designed relational. So relational means our two tables must be related. There must be primary key, foreign key link between your tables that you've got. It doesn't need to be between all the tables. Like Pavan's got 3 tables. If 2 of them are linked, then your third one can be a standalone. If it's also linked, nice and well done, you can keep it like that. But if not, you don't need to force the issue. As long as there's 2 tables that's related, the third one doesn't need to be. So this is relatively key, this one here. And even if you really don't want to send me your stuff, if you want to at least send me your database, it might be a good idea. Just to make sure it's normalized. Remember we did the normalization, and you need to do that 1NF, 2NF, 3NF to make sure that each field does have atomic data. Do you have a primary key? Is it the proper table name? Then see if there's any transitive dependencies. To make sure all of those things are sorted is relatively important, but I can check that for you as well. must be relational. The type and size of fields. So when you show the fields in Access, if you take a screenshot of your table that's already done by design view, you can see the type. So you'll get all the field names and you get the type, but the size is not shown. So a nice thing, if you are planning to just do a screenshot, use that description column. And in the description column, just right there, if it's text, say the size is 50 characters. If it's an integer, just say it's a short int or long int or whatever it is. Generally with numbers, you don't need to say, but when it's text, you must say what the field size is because they want it here. So if you put it all by the description and then you screenshot, then the screenshot basically says everything. So I want to suggest rather do it in Access and then just screenshot from there because your database is designed nicely as well. So this one can just be a screenshot from Access. And then you can even, if you do have in that table where you've got the primary key of the other table, then in his description you can say it's a foreign key and you can say linking with whatever that table's name is to just get that sorted. Then with 3a, class description and class diagram. So with this one, then you can't tell me, hey, but sir, my program, I don't need to have a helper class. It's fine if that's what you feel, but then it means these marks you will not get. So you cannot convince us that then it meant if your topic doesn't have leeway for this, then you should have chosen another topic because you must have this. So, but there is a nice way. That's just, if you thought you'll go that excuse, just know it won't work. But a nice thing with this, generally what I use this one for is for validation. You'll see if you go a little bit down to task, yeah, 5a, this part, input validation. With your input validation, what you can do is you can create a validation helper class. And what you can do is then you can just send it like either a string or an integer or whatever. You'll see later on you need 4 different ones. So you can send it across and then that one can check for you. It can do the validation. So you can create a class that does validation for you. That will return, it will receive parameters, it will have scope is just public and private, and your method type, if it's your functions, or but that's all with, does it return something or not. So these things you can easily get with that. Alternative nice place to maybe use this is with the logging in. If you log in, you can create just an object with a person that logged in, maybe with his username and password, and then you can have like a constructor and an accessor and a mutator just accessing and returning his name and whatever, and you can use it somewhere in the program. So you can sort of force this in there somewhere so that it's not too challenging. With this specific one, your class, the class they're talking about here, is your helper class. Your GUI classes, you don't need this for. You don't need to create this for GUI classes. Because they're not out. These classes that they're talking about here is the ones you create yourself. It's the helper class that we create, where you'll have your constructors and accessors and mutators and a toString, and you'll just do that. And if you don't have a plan for this yet, apply it to either your login person, create an object for him, or create it for validation, just to check that a string is a string and an int is an int and a double is a double and so forth. That's my suggestion with this part here. Data modeling. So every time, put this heading and then do that. Next paragraph, stick in the data modeling heading underneath this heading. But then you need text files and an array. or advanced programming concepts. So text files and array is the easiest one. Again, if you're not sure where or what, use it for logging in. Use a text file where you put usernames and passwords. And then you can read all of that and put it into an array. And then depending on who signs in, then you can create a class diagram or an object of that one person that signed in to use further on. So with both of these, you can work nicely just with your login screen. You can use your OOP and you can use your text files in your array all in there. That's what I would advise. These advanced programming concepts they're talking about, that is generally when you use like arrays of objects. So it's more stuff that I want to say that's out of syllabus. So I wouldn't look at that area. I would stick with text files and arrays. And you'll see they just say you must use text files and arrays, excellent and relevant description and use of text files, and a good application of an array. That's all they say. They didn't say your array must have a sort and a search and an add and a remove and all the generic stuff we always had for arrays. They're not saying you must have all of that. They're just saying it must use a text file and you must use an array. Full stop. So only sort of snag is it must be a good application. So you can't just put it in and not actually use it. There must be some sort of a purpose to it still. But again, if this is your area, you can send me a message or whatever. Just this is what I'm suggesting. Is it okay or not? And I can help you to just streamline that. I guess that's what needs to be happened there. Yes. So this whole phase 1 is just Word. So you will literally go in this Word document. And then here later on, you're going to go data modeling. And then what you're going to say is, let me just see it like this. So with this one, you'll do your UML diagram. You can Google it as well, but basically what a UML diagram means, you'll say your fields. So fields is like all the attributes you've got. And then pluses and minuses is for public or private. So you'll say private and then let's say name. Let's say you do for logging in. So you might have a name, you might have a password, and you might have access type. And then so you'll say the name is a string, and you'll say the password is a string or integer depending on what you want for that. And access type could be maybe Boolean, where if it's true then it's an administrator, if it's false then it's just a normal user. And then you'll go methods. But this UML thing you can just go Google. So you'll go, so minus means private, plus means public. So then you'll have a constructor, and then you can have your parameters you put in there, and then you'll say you maybe have a get name, so your method name, if there's something, but this will return a string. So you basically, it's sort of, I want to say like the headings of each of the methods that you list here. Plus and minuses for public and private, and that's all. You just list this. So there's no code. You just sort of say what you're going to do. And then with this one, the text files and array, you'll just carry on here. After this one, then you'll just go text files will be used to store the username, password, and type of user. That information will be read and entered into 3 arrays to use for logging in. it'll just go something like that, where for the class diagram, you literally just do that, and then you just give me like 1-2 sentences. What will text files? What will that be? And just here, what you can maybe also still do with the text file is just to give the text file will have the following format, and then you just say username hash password hash user type, something like that, and that's it. So you'll basically just in the Word document sort of say how will those things look, but it's all Word, just planning. I'm gonna have this class, and this is what I'm going to do with my text files and arrays. Using your text files to store your help information is perfect, yeah. All right, then next one, navigation description of flow diagram, task 4a. So with this one, this is the part without geodesign and everything. So this first one is just a flow diagram. So I basically want to know an excellent attempt to show the sequence of all the steps and flow of events when the program is executed with no shortcomings. So with this one, I just want to know how do you go from like one screen to the next to the next. So in your Word, what is nice, it does actually have a, so with this, you don't need specific screenshots. If you want to put your screenshots of your screen in, you're welcome to do that, but you don't need that necessarily. So you can just go to the insert, and what you can do, let me just see, shapes. So if you've got pictures, you can go put the pictures in. Otherwise, you can have a block like this, and then you say, if you can just right click on it, you say add text. This is your login screen, and then we can go another box. Oh, shall help me. Where do I go with that? Where's smart art? Yeah, so you can do this also. What I like about this one though, so what I'll generally do, I'll copy that. Maybe tell me, look what I'm doing and see if smart art is easier than that. But like I like doing it like this. So like when you log in, um, I like these, the arrow, and I like the ones where the arrow's two ways. Oh, all right. Yeah, so, oh, okay, that's smart. But yeah, so I like the arrows going both ways because you can go back. And obviously, if there's no back, then you just have an arrow one direction. Um, and then you'll say, yeah, like after login screen, you go to the menu, and then I'll go like, and from this one, I will copy, and then I'll just maybe paste three others, put them, rename, and then I'll again, depending if you want that arrow going both ways or whatever, then I can say I'm going from there to, okay, whatever, this doesn't look nicely, something like that, or whatever, so that, and then you'll just have all the different arrows from the one to the next. But you can use whichever you can. If you like the smart art, use smart art. Um, if you whatever, just snake one also, I don't know, that one works nicely. So but the idea is you should see like from this screen I can go to that screen, or from there, and then I can go back also because it's back buttons. So that's the idea of this next piece, is that you just want the flow of screens. If I go from this screen, I can go to that one, and how can I go back? And so obviously, if you've got like a exit maybe from this specific screen, the person will be able to jump right back again. So then you'll have from here, I can go back there just, so I can only from this one, if I click something, I can go there, but I can't go from this one to there. So you can sort of see the options of how does a program flow from all your different screens you've got. And that's the idea of this one. So the design fits the program's intended use. So with these ones, I want to say screenshots is your best route, because you need appropriate components to see if it fits the intended use. Ease of use. So ease of use generally looks at, is there a help button? Is there back buttons? So that's sort of where it comes, and it also goes in with, if you've got a text box or edit box, make sure there's a label as well, so the person knows what needs to be put in there. Sometimes random people just put edit boxes because they know they want the user to type in his username there. But you have to think, like, if it's the first time somebody sees this program, will he know what's going to happen? And that's why you need to help them. Appropriate components. Look at spin edits, especially if you want them to add like age and stuff. Use spinners. Use combo boxes if you want them to select from something. You must use the right component to make their life as easy as possible. That generally comes in with any screen with inputs, especially when you want to add a house or add a person, an owner, or a tenant, or whatever. When you want to add stuff like that, use a spinner for age. Use radio buttons for gender. Use check boxes if he's adding his house to say if he's got electric fence and if it allows pets and stuff. So try to make it as easily, you want the person to type in as little as possible. Obviously something like a name and an ID number, you don't have a choice there. The person must type in. Use edit box, you must type it in there. But most other things, you can give him options with either combo boxes, pin edits, radio buttons, check boxes. Use those elements. You must have help features. There must be help. Clearly marked navigation, that's our back buttons. Make sure that the person can go back. You know, people make mistakes. You want to register, and then when he goes to register, don't just have an accept button. Maybe the person realized he got there, he realized, hey, I don't want to, and I just want to go back, or cancel. Have a cancel button. Have a back button. Like, I want to say all your screens should have a back button. There's very seldomly that you can convince me of a screen that does not need a back button or shouldn't have one. So put a back button everywhere. Put a help button everywhere. Even if your help button, when it's clicked, it's got literally like one sentence just telling the guy, hey, just click OK or whatever. But do that. It makes your program more user friendly. And then with this design, it doesn't need to be colorful. I'm actually saying, because it's a state program, choose a color scheme if you want to, like of 2 colors, and stick with that. Don't make it a rainbow program just to show me that you can choose a million different colors. Stick with, if you think of any, like the companies, they've got like 2 colors and then that they use for the whole program. And it looks professional. So it's not like you're lazy or whatever. It's a good color scheme, and that design fits the program's use. You will need some sort of a logo or picture as well. So keep that in mind. You can't just not have any pictures. You must have some sort of a logo or picture somewhere. Where you place your buttons on the screen should always be in the same place. Put always your exit and clear and help buttons, maybe bottom right or top right. As long as you put it in the same place the whole time, it's fine. Not in the middle somewhere just randomly. And make sure if you want the person to type in 3 things, ask for all 3 things and then have the button. Don't put the button and then ask for the 3 things underneath. The person won't know to fill in 3 things and then go back up for a button. So stuff like that is, it says clearly marked navigation, but it's also just, it's this logical flow. The program should flow logically, and clearly marked navigation is generally for that back button, that you can go back to previous screens. So at task 5, this generally is input, you'll see, then you've got your processing, and then you've got output. So this, okay. All right, so with these ones, let me quickly help you with this. If you remember, I did actually go through this, but I'm going to go through it now again. What you need with this is you do it in a table form. It's going to make your life much easier. So just go side by side here. All right. So I'm not sure how many I need. I'm just going to go big and then come back for it. All right. So first, make your first one your component. So let's move this down. Say like login screen. For the login screen. Then have a component column where you're going to say, I've got an input box, let's say input and input and input or whatever. So the different type of component. Then you need the source of input. So then you'll have your source here. You'll have the data type. You'll have data type. Format. Okay, GUI component is this one now. Maybe what we can say, let's put the component there and just leave this part maybe open. I'm not sure what you can call this. But then with this one, you can maybe have like, let's say we're in the login screen. So we've got the name for the person. So the source is from the keyboard. He's going to type in from the keyboard. The data type, it will be a string. Format is then not applicable. Because, I mean, his name can be any, there's no specific format. And then the component that will be used is the edit box. All right. And then you go that route. And then let's say, okay, so it's not necessarily login screen, but let's say there's a date of birth. Date of birth. And then you're also going to say, so the source now again would be the keyboard. And now the data type will be a date. Format might be now, you want year, month, day. And then the component, it depends. There is actually a, what do they call that? I think it's, I think it's part of the combo box. I must just check, but you can actually use that to, always with a spinner. I'll just go check for you, but either combo box or spinner does have an option where you can choose. It's a date selector. Let's just call it date selector. We choose date selector. And then you might also have gender. And this will be, I'll use the mouse here. To the data type might also be a string. So this format is then M or F. And the component I'm going to use might be a radio button. So you'll go through that like for each of your screens. So this will take some time because now for each screen, you need to know these things. These are the things I want to, but it's only for inputs. So you don't need to worry about, you will never, with a component, you'll never have like a label there or a text area. You'll never use those things because they are not used for input. This is just for input. So you'd say, oh, but so I've got millions of components. That's true, but the ones you use for input is not a lot actually. Generally, a login screen you'll only have for username and password. So there's only the two. One thing to remember, with a login screen, you will also have a login, which will be a mouse click, where the data type is not applicable, the format's not applicable, and the component is a button. Because remember, when you click a button, that's also input. So your login button will also be here. So each of your buttons will be mentioned here, and then each of the other stuff that's only used for input. You could have edit boxes that you only use for display purposes. Then it won't be here either. This is only if you want the user to type something in. You will put it in this table. This is only for input. Alright, so you do that for these ones. Then this next part, input validation, at least 4 different data types validated. So you can have here, let's go for it. So validate. So you can just say validate. And that's, you'll see you only need 4 different data types validated. So not everything needs to be validated. Inside this whole table through all your screens, you only need to do 4. At least 4 inputs validated. That's all you need in the whole program. So I would say choose one of your add screens when you add a user or add a house or add something, because then you ask for different things and then you can validate. So then you can say, like with this string with a name, you can validate for this for null, because the guy can't leave his name empty. So you're validating for null. That's fine. And then you'll say tested value selected inside is selected. So with this one, you'll also check here for null because it must be selected. With the date of birth, you can check for maybe range check, where you'll check that that the guy's not too old or too young or whatever. So that's how you validate then. So you need to choose 4 different data types. So you can see there I validated for string, I validated for date. So there's 2 done. Somewhere I just need to do an integer and a double as well, then I'm sorted. And I've got 4 data types I validated, and I did 4 inputs that's validated. So it can be more. Just make sure that this 4 different data types is your main one. With inputs, you might validate a little bit more, like with this one, if you've got like an extra string to validate, and that's fine. But you also need associated error message. So you'll have here then your error message, and then you'll say, cannot leave name open. And then please select a gender. This one, you are too young. So you just list what would the error message be after you validated this and there's a problem. What error message will you say? And that's all you put there. And then the ones where there's no validation, you just leave empty because you only need 4. Now by doing this table, you've got 8 marks sorted here, just like that. Then the next part, the data processing. So you had the input part. Come on, whatever. Okay, let's go to space. Okay, so for processing, what processing will need to be done? List at least 8 processes to be. Just list 8. So this, use bullet form and just say add new house, calculate tax, calculate total cost, remove or sell house, add client, update house, what else can we do? Update client, remove client. There you go. There's 8 processings that needs to be done. So you literally list like 8 of your buttons that's going to do something. You just list them. And that's all. You can have much more, but just list 8 of them. That is all you need for that one. Only thing with this next part now, how processing will be done, supply algorithms formulas for 4 of these ones. So from these ones, now select 4 where you'll go deeper. So I think what I'll do, I'll probably then after this, so I would do that separate and then I'll say, so like number 2, to calculate tax, and then I'll go get the house price, let's say house price, get the house price, and then say tax the house price times 0.15, and you literally just put your algorithm, what you're going to do in that button, just underneath here, and then just say display tax for argument's sake. And that's it. You just do that with 4 of them. So 4 of these ones, you just have separate here that you just now explain what will happen in those buttons. So again, don't choose one, like let's say you did SQL with one of these ones. You update the client and you're going to use SQL to do that. Then don't do the algorithm for it, because there's no algorithm actually. You're going to just use SQL to just do it. So choose 4 where there's actually something that you can do and get it. So, and then that is your processing part. That would give you your 4 and 4 marks. So that's another 8 marks here. And then for output we'll just go table again. Let's see, output is a smaller table though. I think it's just 3 or 4. So again, leave the first one. No, data to output. So first one is the data to output. Next one is the format. Next one is the component. So just again for each screen, now when you output something, you'll just say, I'm gonna have a data to output is maybe a login successful. Format is just a string, and then the component that will be used is a pop-up message. And then, so just like after the guy clicked, he entered his username and password, he clicked log in, and then there's gonna pop up a thing that say login successful. Then I'm gonna say that, and then you might have the all properties info. That will be the table, and it will be in the text area, something like that, where you'll just, and then literally you'll just do that for all your screens. Everything that you're going to display, what the format will be, where it will be shown, and you just do that with all of them. You can use DB Grid, so either text area or DB Grid, or wherever you're going to display this stuff, then you'll just say there, and that's all. Then you're done.